Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
After teasing a potential administration role for weeks,
RFK Jr., he's going to help us on health and the health of women, men, and children, and he is so good.
President-elect Trump is selecting Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to be his next Secretary of Health and Human Services, writing, Americans have been crushed by the industrial food complex and drug companies who have engaged in deception, misinformation, and disinformation when it comes to public health. Kennedy is a former Democratic and independent presidential candidate who dropped out and endorsed Trump.
You want an America president who's going to make our country healthy again.
Woohoo!
But he's faced criticism because of his history of vaccine skepticism, publicly espousing discredited assertions that vaccines cause autism. Vice President Harris slammed Trump for praising him.
He has indicated that the person who would be in charge of health care for the American people is someone who has routinely promoted junk science and crazy conspiracy theories.
Kennedy telling us last week that he would not block any vaccines.
I'm not going to take away anybody's vaccines. I've never been anti-vaccine.
What?
You will not take any vaccine that is currently on the market.
I'm not. If vaccines are working for somebody, I'm not going to take them away.
During the campaign, Kennedy also made headlines when he said that 15 years ago, doctors told him he had a parasitic worm in his brain that died. Kennedy is a critic of U.S. healthcare policy who's advocated for big changes to food and drug regulation, writing last month, the FDA's war on public health is about to end, telling us he would eliminate parts of the FDA.
The nutrition departments at FDA that have to go. That are not doing their job. They're not protecting our kids.
All right, then, everybody. Are you ready? Get ready. Because, oh, my God, I don't know how many people understand what happened last night at Mar-A-Lago. Wow. It was pretty shocking. It was pretty stunning. It was pretty amazeballs is what it was. You know how I was offering up, some sort of an example between what has happened here with this election and what has already happened in Argentina with their election a year ago. A year ago, Argentina elected themselves a libertarian candidate named Javier Milei. And they had 211% inflation. I mean, it was just, Argentina was in dire straits. It was bad. It was very bad. And they decided that they had it with traditional avenues of government. Traditional, candidates, traditional parties, and they were going to throw the bombs out, and they were going to pick this guy who was just a crazy, wild-eyed looking, freak of nature. He was just a very strange man with a very interesting hairdo, and he was going to be their new, let's try this kind of a thing. Except, we'd already done it here with Trump once. But, Argentina, they'd never had their Donald Trump moment the way that, they had Boris Johnson in England. They've had some strange, like Viktor Orban in Hungary. They have some. Anyway, they picked this guy. Javier. Let's just call him that, okay? And I suggested to you that Javier was an experiment, kind of along the lines with, and those of you who actually understand the history of South America and our intervention in Central America, things of that nature, know that we view some of those countries as brilliantly like a gift of a laboratory where we could go and experiment with stuff and things. And we did it in Chile with, installing Pinochet, removing their democratically elected government. And then once he was our dictator in Chile, we decided we were going to try. The reason why we needed one was because we were going to try this extreme Chicago School of Economics thing called Milton Friedman economics. Okay, it was like a starve the beast kind of a thing. And, it imploded and people went completely broke. I mean, and they stole the Social Security Trust Fund to do the damage. They literally needed the money to do the damage, and they stole it from the Social Security Trust Fund in Chile. They used to have Social Security in Chile. They don't anymore, and this is why. Okay, they did the same thing in Argentina, not quite as extreme as, a dictator like Pinochet, but a libertarian, sort of a I hate government kind of a guy. And it just seemed to me that he was sort of an American experiment gone bad, because he's been there for a year now, just about. It's 11 months, okay, into his term. And I don't know if you recall that I said that Argentina's poverty rate has exponentially increased, and now 53% of Argentinians live in poverty. That was not correct. That was wrong. I made a mistake. It's 60% of Argentinians now live in poverty. Swear to God. And what's crazy is that last night at Mar-A-Lago, they had a big fiesta bowl of, celebration. And one of their honored guests was Javier Milei, the Argentinian libertarian freak of nature dude. He was there last night praising Donald Trump and thanking him for having the courage to go there and do these things. And, can't wait to see how it works out for you guys. I would play it, but he spoke in Spanish, and the message though is very clear. You can find it if you want to. It was broadcast all over Twitter last night. It was hashtagged and broadcast, and I just sat there going, "Oh my God," because I don't want to be right if loving you is wrong. But I am, and it's crazy creepy. I mean, it's so freaking bad. So here's what happened. In Argentina, this man went and pretty much dismantled the government, just like Trump wants to do here. If you look at this cast of clowns, these creatures that are now going into major agencies inside of our government, where we built a large bench of expertise. And now the people who are experts in various areas, whether it's health, whether it's taxation, whether it's scoring legislation, whether it's efficiencies at the GAO, IRS, we hired these new people who could process very complex tax returns. Now we had that expertise brought in for us, so that the people who skirt the law, the people who don't pay taxes, could now be identified and fingered and, made to, pay their taxes as owed, right? Now they're all leaving. They're all leaving. All of these experts. And, you know that they're smart people because they have the smarts and the wherewithal to leave just based on who he's picking to head up their agencies, right? And the ones that are left over, I would assess some of them feel like they need to be the resistance inside. Some of them feel like they need to be the remaining guardrails. And for those who are thinking that and are staying to do that, I praise you. I praise you. I honor you. Your service is invaluable. But he's going to make you leave. He's going to get rid of you. He just is going to purge. He has a purge list. He has an enemies list. When Kamala, who I saw in that clip there, God, I miss her. When Kamala was saying he was going to go in there with a list of, purge list or retribution list, and she was going to go in there with a to-do list, she wasn't kidding. She wasn't. So when you look at this clown car of people, you realize the only thing that they're going to be good at is dismantling their agencies, dismantling government, because it's so much easier to break things than it is to build things. So now we're going to have a country where, you have cancer? Go outside and get some sunshine. All right. Oh, you have polio? Make polio great again.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, The Randi Rhodes Show.
most of these people are not qualified to run the thing they're being asked to run. You put someone like Pete Hegseth at the Pentagon, which is, employs 2.8 million people. 2.8 million people at the Pentagon. The man has never run anything bigger than a carpool. He's obviously unqualified to run it. And I think you would say the same thing about, as you just said, about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and HHS. But what if the goal isn't to run it, and the goal is, in fact, to ruin it? And what this is about, taking the president and his ideological abettors at their word, is about the thorough deconstruction of the administrative state. They're trying to wreck the government, not run the government. If that were the goal, Bobby Kennedy might be uniquely qualified to do that in the world of HHS, because not only is he not able to run an organization this big, but he's a paragon of misinformation and disinformation about health, which is another kind of toxicity and poison that he may introduce into the system if he gets this job.
Well, does that poison cause school shooters to shoot? Because, you see, this is the conspiracy crap that you should get used to here with RFK Jr. at HHS, in charge of the National Institutes of Health, in charge of Medicare, Medicaid. I mean, it's just, wow. It's scary is what it is. But you should get used to this kind of conspiracy stuff because, listen, don't lose your mind over the fluoride thing, okay? Because, RFK does want to take fluoridated water out of circulation. He doesn't want the fluoride to be in the water. I don't think that means they will cover dental. No, I don't think we will ever cover dental. I think the reason why we started adding fluoride to our water in like the 1940s was because people's teeth were rotten out of their faces, and we didn't want to pay for that. You know what I mean? Nobody was into, replacing people's teeth. Nobody, to this day, nobody wants to pay for major dental. Okay? Okay, so we put fluoride in the water there, and now they're saying, well, you have the toothpaste, and the toothpaste has the fluoride in there, so it's redundant. You don't need it in the water. And on day one, RFK has pledged to take it out of there. Look, I got news for you. Not everybody brushes their teeth, Bobby. Okay, they just don't. But he's literally on a quest to take it out, and he wants everyone off of their antidepressants because his theory, not that he's a scientist, not that he actually sits there and reads data and processes it and its meaning, because if he did, he would know that the data is public, which seems to evade him when he talks about, I want the data. It's public. There's public data on COVID vaccines. There's public data on the rubella umbrella. There's public data on measles. And there's public data on whether or not it causes autism. It does not. But he's still screaming, he needs the data, and these crazy people around Trump are going, give him the data. Let's have Bobby look at the data. He's a lawyer, he's not a doctor, but okay, let him look at it. It's public. But he believes that not only is there a relationship between vaccines and autism, but which scares parents to no end, okay? Because now they have that in their head when the kids are getting, their childhood vaccines to keep them from, getting mumps and measles and chickenpox and rubella and scarlet fever and, polio and all of the things that, millions of people used to die from, they no longer do. But he wants to put it in parents' heads that it probably is causing autism. And it scares the bejesus out of people to hear anybody even suggest that. And now he's in charge of Health and Human Services. And so I guess if you get the measles now, he's going to suggest to you that you go out and get some sunshine, which I think is the cure for scabies, but nothing else. Could be rickets, could be wrong. I'm not a doctor. But if we lose our minds over, taking fluoride out of the drinking water, then what's going to happen when we actually have to lose our minds over no more antidepressants for anybody? Because he believes that Prozac and antidepressants of the SSRI, a variety, cause school shooters. He doesn't think it's the guns. He thinks it's the antidepressants. He doesn't think it's the bullying. He thinks it's the antidepressants. Also, I want to know how you're going to hold this in your head, you freaks of nature that voted for Donald Trump, because you really, really want to see all the regulations go away. So here's the thing with RFK Jr., who is trying to tell you that you need to get healthy. You do. You're chronically fat, you're chronically diabetic, you're chronically ill in this country. You have all kinds of chronic illnesses, and he knows the cure for them. See, I'm not against, a deep dive into chronic illnesses and trying to figure out how to, address them and make them a thing of the past, kind of like measles, because that would be good. No, but him and his conspiracy theories are telling him that in order to get rid of chronic illnesses in this country, he now has to regulate every aspect of the food industry, which might not be a bad idea. But how in the world are the libertarian types who are all about Donald Trump cutting government down to a nub, right? How are you going to tolerate RFK regulating all of your dinner plate? Because that's what he's going to do. No more Captain Crunch for you. You understand? No more trans fats. In California, I believe, I could be wrong, I know New York is like this. There's nothing allowed on a menu in a restaurant that contains trans fats. So how are you going to be when he says red stripe bologna is no longer permitted to be sold in the United States, in Ohio and Kentucky? How are you going to be when he starts regulating your food consumption? Because he will. This is what he's about. It's everything he believes. And to believe it and to preach it, fine with me. I don't have a problem with it. I actually take care of myself in that weird way of watching what I eat. Okay. But I don't really need for him to make new regulations for, trans fats. I don't need for him to make new regulations about, pulling cereal off the shelf. And this is really what we're talking about here. This isn't Jack LaLanne things, It's more like he's going to mandate you get up and exercise. He's going to mandate. And how will he do that? Well, first of all, he'll regulate the food. But if you don't exercise like a certain amount every single day, if you don't have on your phone, because there's an app for that you've done 10,000 steps every single day, maybe you don't get health insurance anymore. Yeah, ow, really? Yeah, really. Maybe if you are taking antidepressants, maybe that's a red flag and you don't get your gun. Oh, snap. You didn't just say that. Oh, yes, I did. Yes, I did. You put crazy people in positions of power, you're going to see something crazy and powerful. That's just the way it goes.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Do you think that there are more shocking appointments ahead?
Yes.
Can you give us?
No, the most useless game that I have had to be reminded of repeatedly is
who might he pick, right?
Who might he pick? Because he will change his mind.
Yeah.
Someone will undo a staff pick or a cabinet pick and so forth and so on. It's just not. It's things are too fluid with him. But I do think that they are looking to essentially shock and overwhelm the system so that they can maximize what the system will tolerate.
Right, and it is loyal, not just loyal. People who display fealty.
Told you.
MAGA warriors. That seems to be the constant theme. They are MAGA warriors. They are in your face.
Correct.
These are not uniting people. These are not uniting picks. These are in your face to the medical community, to the intelligence community, to the military community.
That's what he wants. Yes.
That's what he wants.
Yes, and on that, Jake, I think he was quite clear what he was planning to do in office. There's this whole sort of, as you know, we've been talking about since 2015 or 2016, literally seriously thing with him.
Oh, that whole thing, yeah.
Right. You should sort of assume he plans on doing what he's saying.
Yeah, he means
to
it
do at this point. And so, yes, that is what these picks are designed to do. Whether they all get through, We'll see. Does he end up doing recess appointments? We'll see. I think that Matt Gaetz is going to be a bridge too far for some Republican senators, but we'll find out.
We'll see on that one. I might have to take a wager with you.
I'm not betting. No, but I'm just saying that is the one that could be too far. It also could not be. It also could be. I mean, Trump has much more control over this Republican Senate.
Oh, yeah.
Than the one that he left.
When in doubt, bet on fealty. That's
or bet on him grinding down his opposition at least to a lower posture.
Exactly. This is all meant to exhaust us. This is meant to, cause chaos. He is a chaos agent. This is how he governs. This is how he gets his way. He just causes an enormous amount of chaos, confusion, toxicity, and he just releases the hounds, basically. So you don't even know, which battle to fight. Okay, you're just surrounded with fires and battles and floods and burning buildings, and you don't know which thing to tend to first. That's how a chaos agent operates. Okay, it's just it's what he's all about. But the idea that everybody Matt Gaetz, he's a bridge too far. He's a bridge too. Tulsi Gabbard, who repeats Russian talking points to the point where her teleprompter is in Cyrillic at this point, okay? Do you know that they were cheering for her on Russia 1? They were debating on the Russian state television, which is all they have over there is Russian state television, but they were debating on there whether to call Tulsi Gabbard our girlfriend or our agent. That was the big debate on Russian TV. You know how Russian TV loves Tucker Carlson too? And they have whole celebratory segments about Tucker Carlson being close to Donald Trump and now Tulsi Gabbard being in charge of our intelligence agencies. Now, here's a question for you, okay? Because this is real basic if you think about it. You're, risking your citizens' lives in a foreign country like, New Zealand, Australia. Australia's part of the Five Eyes. Let's go with that, okay? So you're risking, your operators' lives in order to gain intelligence that would keep the free world free in Australia or in the UK, okay, or in France or Germany or any of our allies, okay, who try to gather intelligence. And share it with us. Would you share it with Tulsi Gabbard? I'm saying no. I'm saying you would not, and I'm saying that a lot of the people inside the intel, community, if you will, if you must, if you may, they're out. And they'll go to the private sector. That's where they'll go. They'll go to, companies like Bracewell Giuliani. I mean, it's insane. Rudy Giuliani pretended he was a security guy. I don't know how I guess he was America's mayor, and he created a law firm called Bracewell Giuliani. It was all about security. It was all about corporate security. It was all about information gathering. And, stop pretending that these are real people. This is toxic. This is dangerous. So now we won't get the intel that we used to get. And people inside the intelligence communities, they're going to be loath to share their intel with their own country, knowing that she is going to disseminate it to people against who we're collecting. If she's the DNI, she sits on top of all the intelligence agencies, and she knows methods, she knows sources, she knows operators, she knows their names. Remember the Valerie Plame scandal? Do you remember when she was outed because she became inconvenient to the weapons of mass destruction bullcrap? Yeah, well, so Tulsi Gabbard is so dangerous to our national security. There are no words, okay? There just aren't any words. Matt Gaetz, obviously he's a disruptor. Obviously he's a bully. Obviously he's got a big mouth also. Obviously he's a lawbreaker. And he really should not be the Attorney General. But do you know who the Deputy Attorney General is? See, now this pick probably goes under the radar. So it's not a completely awful one, but you can see where it came from. Do you know Donald Trump's personal lawyer, Todd Blanche? Do you know who he is? Remember when we were when Donald Trump was milking the media and the media was playing along with him, and he would come out during the New York City business fraud trial, the one that he was convicted of 34 felony counts on, and he would come outside and address the media, and everybody was there waiting for His Majesty to spew some garbage, right, about how innocent he was and this is a witch hunt and all that crap. You remember his lawyer that stood next to him? He looked kind of like a bulldog. His name was Todd Blanche. He's the Deputy Attorney General nomination. He's the one to serve under Matt Gaetz, Trump's personal lawyer. Now, I will say he does have some experience in the prosecutor's office. He was a paralegal there before he went to night school at Brooklyn College to get his law degree. And of course, he's mastered the art of delay. That was how he got Trump out of most of what was facing Trump, except for the New York fraud trial, which actually made it to a jury. And, once it makes it to a jury, obviously it doesn't turn out well for the Donald, for his client. Because the one case that actually made it all the way through to a jury trial found him guilty of 34 business felonies, right? And so now this is how America elected its first felon, expecting that it won't be a criminal enterprise. Your government won't. And the conflicting ideas that are already, displaying themselves to you and me about how do we have less regulation if RFK is going to regulate, antidepressants, right? So no antidepressants if you want a gun, I'm guessing, because he thinks that the antidepressant makes school shooters shoot. So now are we going to have people foregoing their antidepressants so that they can keep their guns? Yeah, probably that's what they'll do. Yeah. What could go wrong there? People who need antidepressants, not on antidepressants, not getting their Vraylar for bipolar disorder because they want to keep their guns. Yeah, I'm for that.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Yeah.
No, I'd actually be surprised if Gaetz gets confirmed. That's why I was surprised he resigned the House, because he's not going to have anything to fall back on.
Oh,
but
I don't know.
He'll go be a Fox News commentator or something. So I do expect that there will be resistance to him. The rest of them, I don't know. Maybe RFK Jr. I mean, is there enough, are there enough Senate Republicans left? Here's the thing. A lot of the sane Senate Republicans, particularly those that voted to remove Donald Trump, they're up for re-election this year. So now it becomes a whole different ballgame. And will they resist RFK on vaccines? I don't know. And but I certainly think Gaetz probably has the toughest hill to climb. Look, the dude from Fox News, Pete Hegseth, he will probably be confirmed. He'll go in there. He'll realize that a $900 billion defense industry is different than running a platoon. And eventually, he'll probably carry out all of Trump's worst instincts in the DOD that he wants, and then resign for somebody that knows what they're doing. I don't know, but I don't think there's going to be any issue with Pete Hegseth getting confirmed.
Oh my God.
Well, America, I hope you like measles.
Make measles great again, everybody. We're on it. We're addressing that. We're going to see that through. We're going to make that happen. America first in measles. This was the part you didn't hear. You started cheering too soon and you just drowned out the last part of the message. America first in polio. See, you forgot to listen. But he was telling you exactly what he was going to do. I mean, I'm still waiting for the Treasury Secretary announcement. And I don't know, something tells me Larry Kudlow. He's damaged enough. He's drunk enough. But you want to hear one even better than that? Maria Bartiromo. That would be like making Jeanine Pirro the Attorney General of the United States. Do you know what I mean? It's like right up there with that. But, why not?
I'll take Pirro over Gaetz right now.
No,
yeah,
no.
absolutely.
Oh, no. She's bat crap. Oh, no. And she listen, he's a sex pest, and Jeanine Pirro, I think her husband was, I think that was a Married to the Mob movie. I think that's who her husband was. I can't even remember, but who she was. I think she still is. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not that deep into Fox. I'm not that. But these are all so bad. Why not Mike Lindell, Commerce Secretary? Come on.
There's got to be a place for Mike.
E-commerce secretary will create an office for him. I mean, the Republicans, they're always about smaller government. Let's shrink government so small it fits right up in your vagina. Let's do that. Let's make that happen. But every time they get a chance, they expand the agencies. Like, we wouldn't even have a not Health and Human Services. We wouldn't even have a Department of Homeland Security if it wasn't for W. Right? W created that out of whole cloth, just created a whole new agency after 9/11, the Department of Homeland Security, which sounded, very much like the fatherland. I mean, it did. It sounded like Deutschland. It sounded, and apparently, Donald Trump couldn't say no to creating Space Force. So we have that new agency created. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, they constantly make government bigger. They always do. So why not just make a Secretary of E-commerce and go ahead and give it to Mike Lindell? Just go ahead and do it. Stop pretending that they're about smaller anything. They're about a smaller benefits for you. See, that's what happened in Argentina, right? So in Argentina, just so you know, this libertarian philosophy of, governing to beat back inflation and to beat back, deficit spending. This is kind of why Elon Musk is telling you, get ready to suffer, right? And that it's going to be, painful, because it is. It is going to be painful, especially for the people who are, just hanging on, right? Because when you look at what happened in Argentina, they paid down their deficit all right. But they stopped giving increases to seniors in their pension plans, like cost of living adjustments, to meet the rising inflation in Argentina. And so now you have, like the middle class people who were just hanging on, who used to, donate a couple of bucks to charity. They are not giving any money to charitable organizations anymore, none, because they now have to support their parents. Right. They've gone back to, hey, the family is going to support the seniors. And for the young ones, the people 18 to 16, actually, to 29, it's not much better. Do you know how they're getting by in Argentina, 16 to 29-year-olds? Gambling, swear to God. It's sort of like the crypto ruse that's going on here. So the 16 to 29-year-olds have, of all of the 16 to 29-year-olds, 1/3 of them, a full 33% of them, have either gambled or considered gambling to pay off debt or earn income. That number increases to 40% if you consider male-only 16 to 29-year-olds. And, this is his core political base, just like here. Yeah, young guys. They're going to be totally into, trying to gamble on crypto. It's going to be the thing because they'll have no other way to get ahead. And of course, the crypto kings are going to grift off of them for pretty much the rest of their lives. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It's literally, and Javier's approval rating is about the same as Donald Trump's was here. Like 34% of the people in Argentina approve of him. Okay, they just don't. There's no red meat, like I was saying. There's no red meat, which I'm sure RFK would applaud. Poverty hit a staggering 52.9% in the first half of his of 2024. Now we're in the next quarter, and it's increased to 60% of Argentinians living in poverty. The middle class has no subscription services. Like, they all stopped. It's a real place, Argentina. Okay, with real people that do real things, and a real middle class used to be evident there. But they are now gambling to make ends meet. There's no going out for dinner anymore. There's no subscription services, so they don't subscribe to any of the Netflix or the lowest level of consumption in 110 years in Argentina. Now, I just want you to, process this little factoid here, which you've heard me say a million times because it's really a good one. 70% of all of our GDP, of all of our gross domestic product, meaning the total of everything that we do in the United States, right? 70% of the growing GDP that we now enjoy is a result of consumer-driven activities. It is you buying Netflix. It is you buying clothes. It is you buying groceries. It is, it's everything that we buy. That's what keeps our economy going. In Argentina, consumption has reached the lowest levels in 110 years under this freak. Okay, they have a research company. It's called Sentimientos Públicos, public sentiment. 7 out of 10 Argentine respondents cut down on dining out. 70% don't go out to eat anymore. 60% don't go to any entertainment like movies. They don't go to the theater anymore, and they don't have any subscription services like Netflix or Hulu or any of those, okay? 58% reduced their spending on clothing. They don't buy clothes anymore. And 57% spent less traveling on tourism activities. And that's kind of what the bones of the economy are there. 34% have pulled the cord on their streaming services, and 2,500 people were part of this survey. So it wasn't a small sample. It was a large enough sample to actually show you something. And this is who was at Mar-A-Lago last night. And they were hailing him as the returning hero of austerity. And that is the name of the game, austerity. It's cutting us off at our knees for our own good. And then breaking every single part of the government, just breaking it, so that there is no place to go for help. There is no Social Security. There is no Medicare. Medicaid will be the first to go. Medicaid. I already saw what they're bringing back. I had a call the other day who said, "What about me? I'm blind, and I have Section 8 housing vouchers, and I'm on Medicaid. Do you think they'll take away my Medicaid?" I think the first thing that you'll see is a work requirement. And I don't know, RFK might insist that it's the fluoride in the water that caused your blindness, and maybe if you brushed your teeth more, you could drive again. I don't know. I do not know. But that's where we're headed. We're headed to austerity. And it doesn't work. It just hurts.
Mary had a little man. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Every federal employee every year has to sit through insider threat training to recognize people they think might be hazards around classified material. And part of that is, people who are deeply critical of the United States and its foreign policy, who seem to have a lot of affinity and meetings with foreign nationals. I mean, there's all kinds of alarm bells that go off here. And this nomination sets them all off. This is, not somebody that you would say, sure, this, I'll hand the crown jewels of American intelligence to someone who, as you pointed out, leave aside that she's completely unqualified for the job. This is somebody who has consistently taken the side of people like Bashar Assad and Vladimir Putin, even when she was a member of Congress. There is absolutely no way that in any normal universe, we'd even be having this discussion about trusting Tulsi Gabbard with the American intelligence community. And a reminder to people watching, the DNI sits on top of all of America's intelligence communities, including CIA. And I think, one of the terrible things about the Matt Gaetz nomination is that it was so cartoonishly shocking that it's wiped out talking about how completely unfit Tulsi Gabbard is, and frankly, Pete Hegseth as well.
Yep.
I mean, you would have two people at Defense and DNI that I think you'd simply be shocked to think are handling classified information, or at least in Pete Hegseth's case, part of the nuclear chain of command. This is Donald Trump. In a way, he's trolling the nation, mocking. I think Reverend Sharpton had it right. He's mocking his own voters. But these are all focused inward. These are all about people who are going to punish Donald Trump's opponents merely by virtue of even being in the jobs. And there's no thought at all here about, well, I don't know, what's best for America.
No, there is no thought about what's best for America. That's Tom Nichols. He's a wonderful writer for The Atlantic, which is a fabulous magazine. You should get a subscription to it because the journalism there is top-notch, first-rate. The writing is brilliant, and the way that they explain things to you is really accessible. It's easier to understand deep dives into details when you read, people like Tom Nichols and they explain it to you. I find it really helpful. I love that magazine. I really do. I always have. But he seems to be the only person in the media, Tom Nichols, who's just as freaked out as I am about Tulsi Gabbard flying under the radar and everybody focused like a laser on the insulting pic of Matt Gaetz. And yes, it's an insulting pic to have a guy who was being looked at for ethics violations as a member of the House of Representatives, who resigned that seat to prevent that ethics report from becoming public because he's mocking you. And the things that were in there was testimony from not just a 17-year-old girl who was sex trafficked by him and his friend, who's now serving 11 years in prison for doing this, but also more than a dozen other women who testified to Congress about being at sex parties where Matt Gaetz was present, and so were minor girls. And drugs. I wonder what Madison Cawthorn has to say about that. Remember Madison Cawthorn? He was he was an upstart. He was trying to be a MAGA member of the House of Representatives. He was injured in a car accident years ago with his friends, drunk driving, and he was in a wheelchair because of that. And everybody thought he was a war hero because he was in a wheelchair because he was paralyzed from the waist down. And he ran. He got his seat. I think he was like the youngest Congress member, like 26 years old. And the reason why he got drummed out of politics, and I'm sure it was Matt Gaetz that did it, put money against an opponent, right, and made him resign, and showed him you have no chance at all, because Madison Cawthorn started to tell people that he was at Washington, D.C. drug-fueled sex orgies. And people were like, what are you talking about? The Republicans are having drug-fueled sex orgies? He's like, yes, they are. And that was the end of his career. He never to be heard from again. Not that he was, a great loss for the Congress. But, yeah, I mean, that seems to be something that, Matt Gaetz would know about. And so, yes, it's insulting. Ty Cobb, do you remember Ty Cobb? He's the one with the handlebar mustache. He was a White House counsel for Donald Trump. And his comment on Gaetz was hysterical, really.
I don't think Gaetz gets confirmed. I don't think Gaetz likely makes it even to a hearing before he's withdrawn. But we have all that to see as it unfolds. I do think you cannot you can't overstate the seriousness of this nomination. It shows such contempt for the American people and such contempt for the Justice Department. Matt Gaetz is not qualified by character, ethics, experience, training, or skill to run the Justice Department. I don't think there's anybody in America who's confused about that, except maybe Lindsey Graham. And I think it's very unfortunate that we have to deal with this. Maybe he was thrown out there to make some of these other nominations, like RFK to be the head of HHS. I guess Jeffrey Dahmer was unavailable. But this is just silly season, and it's going to be a very tough slog. There's a statue out in front of the National Archives with an inscription that says, eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. I think that's never been truer in our time, and I think it's all hands on deck right now.
Stuart Varney for Treasury Secretary. No, I mean, it is ridiculous, and they are trolling us, and it is a mocking choice. All of those are a mocking choice, but some of them are really clearly dangerous. Tulsi Gabbard strikes me as being the most dangerous of all. Like I said, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he may have some very weird ideas about, junk science. He may value junk science over real science. He may value his feelings about, sugar and his feelings about America on a diet more than he values freedom. I don't know, but he's about to regulate everything that's on your plate, and would it be a bad thing? I'd be cool with it because I don't eat sugar. I think, people who listen to me know that. But how are you going to go along with somebody who's trying to regulate what's in your pantry? What's going to, I honestly, and again, that scenario that plagues me with him is, okay, no antidepressants for you if you want to own a gun. So now you got people foregoing their antidepressants because they want to own a gun. What could possibly go wrong there? What could have? Because he believes that, apparently fluoride makes you gay. He does think that there's something in the water that's making our kids trans. He does. He really does. He thinks that is what's going on here with, body dysmorphia. He thinks it's something that they're drinking or eating or something in the food supply. So they're all so offensive, okay? They're all so out of their element to head up these agencies. Do you know there's like 13 health agencies that the HHS secretary is in charge of, that he oversees? The National Institutes of Health in Bethesda, my God. Oh, and, last night he was at Mar-A-Lago, too, with Cheryl Hines, who apparently got over the fact that he was, sexting with Olivia Nuzzi from, I guess, the New Yorker magazine. Remember, and apparently he had a problem with a babysitter that he just couldn't keep his hands off of, who accused him of being a sexual molester.
I watched it on TV.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
You know who is cheering for Tulsi Gabbard's nomination right now? Russian television.
Yeah.
They actually call her, quote, our girl Tulsi. Shouldn't that worry people?
Yes, in a word.
Yes.
There are a number of things that people ought to be concerned about. I worked for a Secretary of State once who said, only believe half the intelligence you read, and the trick is which half.
Yeah.
This really does take experience, knowing what you should or should not believe. And this is actually one of the greatest vulnerabilities, putting somebody with inexperience into this position. There are a lot of people who are very loyal to Donald Trump who really do understand intelligence and really could have given him a lot better advice in guiding our country through all the security threats we now face.
Yeah, no, Tulsi Gabbard, she's definitely the ideal pick. I mean, and how are they going to get these picks? Okay, the whole oxygen in the room, all the oxygen in the room was sucked out by Matt Gaetz's name, Gates, whatever his freaking name is. I don't really, feel the need to say it correctly at all. I don't owe it to him or anybody. But anyway, why aren't they this upset about Tulsi Gabbard, who was a National Guard medic? Honorable service, good service, not taking anything away from that portion of her service. But how does that qualify her to be in charge of all the intelligence agencies, to see the crown jewels of sources and methods, of secrets, of shared stuff? She will just hand it over to Vlad, which is why they're celebrating her on Russian state television. Now, bigger question. How does she get confirmed by a Senate that has I don't know, a 53-seat majority, I'm going to guess, because, Dave McCormick in Pennsylvania is going to be certified as the winner over Bob Casey. That's a seat flip, okay? So now I'm guessing we'll have 53 Republican senators, okay? And to confirm somebody, you just need a majority. You don't need 60. It's not legislation. Okay. So 53, I can think of 3 right off the top of my head that would be a no. It would be like Susan Collins from Maine, Lisa Murkowski from Alaska. I'm guessing Kramer from South Dakota. You know what I mean? There are legitimate, Cornyn from Texas. I think Cornyn, was Cornyn an intelligence guy or was he a justice guy? I can't remember. But, I mean, you could think of like 3 names right off the bat that would be hell no. So how are they going to get her through? Well, you've heard the recess appointment terminology, bandied around, right? And the recess appointment has also, it's been looked at by the Supreme Court, okay? I think Obama in 2014 was going to use a recess appointment to put a judge. I don't know. That wasn't Merrick Garland. It couldn't have been. No. And the Supreme Court said that a recess is a recess if it's 10 days or longer. Okay? Now, in order to get a recess longer than 3 days, meaning the Senate declares we're in recess and we'll be out for 3 days, anything longer than 3 days requires a buy-in from the House, meaning the House has to also agree to adjourn for more than 3 days. Did you know that? We're going to learn all this the hard way, just like we have to learn everything the hard way in this here country. Well, in order to do that, the House and the Senate have to agree we're going to be out for 10 days. Well, what if they don't agree? What if the House, which has a minimal sliver of a majority as well, what if the House and the Senate don't agree to a 10-day recess, which would then allow Trump to do recess appointments? Okay, here's what they're looking to do. Underneath that rule, that the House and the Senate have to agree to anything longer than a 3-day recess, and you need a 10-day recess to do a recess appointment, there is this weird belief. It's just a belief because it's never been litigated. It's never been adjudicated. There's never been a decision about anything I'm about to tell you. Donald Trump believes, and with Matt Gaetz as his attorney general signing off on this, Donald Trump believes, and he's been told to believe, that the president alone can override the Senate and the House. Yep. That the president alone can override the Senate and the House, and he can put them in recess. Now, that has nothing to do with the 3 co-equal branches of government, does it? No. It means a unitary executive. It means a president's head is higher than the legislative branch. His head is higher than the judicial branch. And this is how he's approaching this second term, which they're lovingly calling it Trump 2.0, which makes it sound almost okay. This is not okay. None of this is okay. The idea that the Senate and the House would lay down, the legislative branch of our government would lay down and accept that the president is more powerful than they are in a 3 co-equal branch of government constitution is just the height of arrogance. It is the height of authoritarianism, and it is the height of wrong. There's nothing more wrong than a president thinking that he can recess the House and the Senate, because that means he can then dissolve the House and the Senate. That's the kind of power you would be giving to him. And this is why I believe he's picking these crazy clown car people. Now, the media chooses to only lose their minds over Matt Gaetz. For some weird reason, he's the big hair on fire, and Tulsi isn't. And Pete Hegseth isn't, even though he was removed from duty in the National Guard because he had white supremacist tattoos all over his freaking body, and he'll be the first person to say that.
I was deemed an extremist because of a tattoo by my National Guard unit in Washington, D.C. And my orders were revoked to guard the Biden inauguration. Jerusalem cross tattoo, which is just a Christian symbol.
Is that the
This is the one.
Is that the tattoo?
Yep, right here. This one is what got me disinvited. I'd never had orders revoked before. I mean, listen, it's a standard deal. You remember after January 6th, everyone was in Washington, D.C. Like Nancy Pelosi had the parking garages full of National Guardsmen. My commander called me a day before, tepidly, and was like, Major, you can just stand down. We don't need you. We're good. I'm like, what do you mean? Everybody's there. He's like, no, he couldn't tell me. When I was writing the book, I reached out to somebody in the unit who could confirm with 99.9% certainty because he was in the meetings and on the emails. Nope, someone inside the DC Guard trolled your social media, found a tattoo, used it as an excuse to call you a white nationalist, an extremist, and you were specifically by name orders revoked to...
What could go wrong? Put him in charge of the military. I remember when we had these white supremacist colonels, out there at the Air Force Academy preaching, white Christian nationalism to the Air Force trainees at the academy. And people were like, oh, my God. Yeah. That was like 20 years ago. This is where we ended up. This is what we were talking about.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
The minute you realize they're going to call you a racist no matter what you do, then it's liberating. Call me whatever you want to call me. That's how I think the other president feels.
All right. That was bad. He was sitting on Fox and Friends saying, the second that they call you a racist, it's liberating. It's liberating. Because why? You don't have to cover it up anymore? I don't know what he meant by that. But, he's also been accused of sexual misconduct. Yes, he has. In Monterey, California, in 2017, Pete Hegseth was accused of engaging in sexual misconduct, according to two sources. One of the sources said the alleged incident took place in Monterey, California in 2017, and according to the transition source, the allegation is serious enough that, his Susie Wiles friend, the one that he shared stolen intelligence documents with at Mar-A-Lago. Yeah, she was on that tape. So now she's the chief of staff at the White House. And she said that the lawyers for Donald Trump did speak to Hegseth about it yesterday. And that a source with knowledge of the meeting said that Hegseth said the allegation is it stems from a consensual encounter, and that it's nothing more than a he said, she said. Why are they all accused of sexual assault? Why? How do they find each other? I mean, is this so that they have something to talk about at the confirmation hearings, when, they're not being questioned? I don't know what this is, but every single one of them has been accused of sexual assault. Now, I will tell you what I do know about Hegseth. When he was working on Fox and Friends Weekend, he had a producer, and he was married, and not to the producer. So he had a wife, and he had a family, and he had a producer. And with the producer, he had a family. Uh-huh. You have to be a Republican to follow this. But I'm telling you the truth. So he got the producer pregnant while he was married to someone else. He got divorced from the someone else. And he married the pregnant producer, or he married her after she had the baby. I don't know what was the order of things. But that's who he is. That's, and when Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was accused of, molesting the babysitter back in the day, he said, that's who I am. That was his defense. That's who I am. He was accused of sexually assaulting an employee by stating, I am not a church boy. I am who I am. Oh, those Kennedys. I mean, it's like it's like an amazing thing. And Donald Trump was credibly found to have sexually assaulted E. Jean Carroll by a jury of his peers in New York. And he still says, it's not a thing. It's not a thing. but they all do. They all seem to know each other. And Getz, now you have Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, because of Matt Getz. That couldn't possibly be paid. I mean, Johnson wouldn't feel the need to protect Matt Getz as payback for making Mike Johnson the Speaker of the House, because Matt Getz was able to pass House rules that said you just needed one congressman to object to a speaker, and you could have a vote to remove them, right? And that worked for Matt Getz to remove Kevin McCarthy, and hence we got Mike Johnson. So there can't be any payback motivation in Mike Johnson's mind when he, as the current Speaker of the House, says he's not going to release the ethics report because he doesn't want it out there. That can't be for some, high-minded reason, to protect the work of the Congress or the ethics. No, it couldn't possibly be that he's covering for Matt Getz because he owes Matt Getz. No, it's because he wants to protect the integrity of the House of Representatives' work, I'm sure. Honestly, I don't. Brother David.
Oh, sister.
Yeah.
From On Tyranny. The Founding Fathers tried to protect us from the threat they knew, the tyranny that overcame ancient democracy. Today, our political order faces new threats, not unlike the totalitarianism of the 20th century. We are no wiser than the Europeans who saw democracy yield to fascism, Nazism, or communism. Our one advantage is that we might learn from their experience. This is systemic. You know it. I know it. It started with that first drop in the water that was actor over actual and image over substance in 1980, and now it's come full blown. And I know it's systemic because this morning I turned on WhatsApp Doc, which I hadn't watched in forever because I wanted, something to keep me from all 5 stages of grief simultaneously. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I'm laughing at, the beginning, and she sings whatever, and then the first Plaid over case, they have the identical Plaid cases, and that's how it gets complicated. And it opens, and Michael Murphy opens, and the first thing on top is top secret, and all I could think of was Tulsa Gabbard. Oh. You know what I mean? It gets in there one way or the other. That's part of how shock doctrine works. I know
that's a stretch, my friend. I have to say.
Well, no, I'm just saying. I'm just the shock of what has happened is how people process.
So here's something that you need to own. You need to hold that in your head with Timothy Snyder's book. Do you know how long it actually took for Mussolini or Adolf or Franco or any of our friends over there to complete their fascist takeover and start jailing their political enemies for whom the camps were originally built? In our case, the camps are originally being built for the criminal immigrants, right? But, of course, it's always built for somebody, and then it expands because it has to. Okay, so it took them 3 months. 3 months. So here's where we are. January 20th, we will get the inaugural address, which will probably go something like this. The deportations have begun. Okay.
Exactly.
Right. And then 3 months from January 20th, that would be February, March, April, right around tax time, it will be complete. And that's how long we have to figure this out. That's how long we have to build a resistance. That's how long we have to orient ourselves into whatever it is we feel we are equipped to do to stop.
Precisely.
This.
Yeah. That's what I meant with the WhatsApp Doc reference. It's just the fact of it, for my mind going there immediately, I was like, whoa, no, because the clock be running out.
Yeah, the clock is running out. We have literally from now, I mean, what is it? November, December, January, February, March, April. We have about 5 months. 5 months. This is what Brett said. This is, the front end of the hurricane was the election, which was crazy, right? Now we're in the eye of the storm, which is the quiet part, the transition part. And then the back end's going to come and slap you around real good. And by April, if we don't figure this out and we don't put an end to this, if we don't understand how, what it is we need to be doing to beat this back and to nip it in the bud, it will be complete, meaning government will be dissolved in April.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
I've been a Democrat my entire adult life. Good citizen. Tried to play within the rules, even when I didn't like them. Put my faith in the hands of people that said they cared. Said they were willing to go to bat for us. But people who care, fight. You didn't. When push came to shove, you were too weak, you were too scared and feckless, too worried about norms and preserving the institutions, to understand that you were presiding over the death of the system that you pretend to care so much about. The establishment that you want to hold on to with every fiber of your being is gone because of your negligence, because of your weakness, because you never stood up to the people who told you what they are going to do. The worst fantasies of these people, tribunals, public executions, all of that stuff is going to become real. We gave Donald Trump the power of a king, the ability to murder people at will, to be on the golf course and see a tweet he doesn't like and order a hit. No one can do anything about it. And you're worried about regrouping for 2028. You're doing circular firing consulting groups about how we lost the election. None of it matters. Imagine being gay or trans or a woman or brown or black or any vulnerable group in America. You left us to the wolves. We have 70 days left, and you're inviting Donald Trump to the White House. The only acceptable outcome of that meeting is his arrest for hundreds of public crimes. Hundreds, including blatant treason. Nevertheless, we're going to be very proud of the peaceful transition of power to the man who did everything, including incite a violent insurrection, to prevent the peaceful transition of power. Do we not see a problem here? Do we not see a problem with the fact that the people behind Donald Trump paying for everything, whispering in his ear, are all foreign-born oligarchs? Putin, the Saudis, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel. These are going to be the people running America. These are going to be the people who dismantle the 250-year-old experiment in democracy. The 250 years of trying to form a more perfect union is going away. America is going to be a pile of resources and labor for them to exploit. You have 70 days to look in the mirror, see what you have done, and take all necessary measures. The President of the United States has the power to be Paul Hindenburg in 1933 or Abraham Lincoln in 1860. We all know the choice he has made, the terrible choice that we will all pay for. Nevertheless, if there's anyone out there with the guts to say what this is and do something about it, this would be a great time.
Have a great weekend. What do you say after that? It's Jim Stewart's son. I don't know if you know who he is. He is a person who fights against the disinformation that's all over the social media, QAnon conspiracy theories, all of it. Okay. He's an anti-fascist. Antifa. And he has spent an enormous amount of time trying to educate people and trying to orient them out of these conspiracy theories that seem to be more real for them each and every day. And believing in an alternate universe is creating a country that will look like an alternate universe because it will not look like our country. It will look like an oligarchy. It will look like yesterday. My favorite word of the week had to be, and I've never used it because, like I said, I'm from Brooklyn, okay? And I don't use words like cacatocracy. But that's what we have. We have government by the worst possible people. And that is what that word means, cacatocracy. It means government by the absolute worst people you could pick. And this is not lost on the Project 2025 authors. This is not lost on the Heritage Foundation. This is not lost on the people that are surrounding Donald Trump at Mar-A-Lago last night. And I'm really pretty sure that this is the result of the experiment that they conducted in Argentina, where they punished all of the citizens of that country by literally throwing them into poverty and declaring that libertarianism is the way out. Anti-establishment is the way out. You need to pick some crazy-looking guy with crazy eyes and a crazy head of hair, and you too will be set free. It's happening all over this globe. And do you know why? Inequality and wealth inequality. And the years of the slog down that road where all of our money was funneled up. All of our money was given to very, very wealthy people who didn't need it and would only use it to take power away from us because they already had all the money. And that's where we are. That's where we are. You know, Bernie bros. That's what they call me, a Bernie bro. Because I believe that that wealth inequality was going to rear its ugly little head, and it was going to have its way with us, the people on the short end of the inequality stick. And it is. It is. But here's the dirty little secret. There are so many more of us than there are of them. That's just a fact. They have all the money, and they have the levers of power so within their reach all across this globe. We won't look like, I don't know what you think the hellscape will actually, look like. It won't look like a video game or anything, like really, really weird. It'll look like Hungary. No free press. Maybe elections are rigged from here on out, if they even go through the charade. I mean, Russia still goes through the charade of having elections. I don't know why, but they do. And it will just be a hard slog for, trying to survive, find food for your family, no health insurance, like plenty of sunshine and exercise instead. And maybe if RFK Jr. has his way, maybe a little bit of pity will be taken upon us for our anxiety, and it will need to be calmed. And maybe because he's very pro psychedelics, just so you know. And Elon is too. He's all about the ketamine. Maybe they'll start microdosing us instead of the fluoride in the water. Maybe we'll have microdosing of psilocybin to make it all seem just a little more palatable. Or maybe they won't. And maybe they'll just, put us in camps. I have no idea. But time is a-ticking. The clock is moving. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. It's on. It's definitely on. They all are serial abusers. They all are dishonest. They all believe in conspiracy theories. The ones that don't believe in conspiracy theories will push the conspiracy theories. But I got news for you. Michael Flynn believes them. Tulsi Gabbard believes them. RFK Jr. believes them. I don't think Gates believes them. I think Hedgeseth is more of a white supremacist. I think Matt Gaetz brought a Holocaust denier, white supremacist to the State of the Union, so they fall in that camp. But you tell me, how comfortable are you that this is the cabinet?